Hey guys, welcome to another video. Now we have a few valve covers here. In this video we are going to restore this one, going to modify it as well. So I'm going to cut off these mounting brackets just because I don't think they look as nice, and also in my case, you know, if you look at my car, I'm actually not using them. But as you can see, previously we had this one painted and I just put a bolt in it to kind of clean it up a bit. But this one, the clear coat failed. This was actually because I took the wrong clear coat. I had a very old one and I bought a new one. Ended up mixing them up and I sprayed the valve cover with the old clear coat. And as you guys can see or cannot see, the surface kind of cracked on the clear coat. So, you know, if you're standing back, you can't really notice it. But, you know, I know it's there. And if you look at it up close, you can see that, you know, the whole surface actually started cracking. Now back to these ones. Here we have a very special cover. This is a very rare one. I've never actually seen one before I got this one. I believe this is an Asian market, maybe India, Indonesia. They actually got this valve cover on a D series. I don't think any other countries got it. If any of you guys know where this is really from, drop it in the comments. This is a VTEC E cover. It's also quite rare for me because we never got anything VTEC E, so we never got these VTEC E covers. Now this one is going to be a project for the future. We're going to change the E to something else. We all got these ones. These ones were all over. Almost all the Honda D series had this specific cover, and you know, you can make it look decent, but you know, this will obviously be a lot more special if we do something with this one. But like I said, for this video we are going to use this cover. I'm going to clean it up, cut these mounting tabs off, see if we can smooth that out without damaging the cover. This will actually just be a test cover, so I think I might actually just give it away locally or something. This is likely the one that's going to end up on the car. And then this one, just because it's my OG cover, I'll probably just end up keeping it, you know, hanging it on the wall or something like that. But yes, over here I have a parts washer in this box that's been sitting here for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble this parts washer, and then we're going to clean up this valve cover. Now this one isn't too bad, a bit dusty, a little bit of corrosion. You know, inside a little bit dirty, but not too bad at all. However, if you come over to this one, this is the worst one I've ever seen. I've never seen anything as bad as this. Yeah, so this engine, luckily I only bought the valve cover and not the engine that came like this, but you can see this engine never had any oil changes. There's literally old oil soup in here. I don't even want to touch that. But yeah, that's a problem for later. I don't think this one is as bad either. No, it's pretty bad. This car probably also didn't see a lot of oil changes. But yes, these covers that came with the VTEC E, you don't necessarily want the VTEC E's. There's two variants of VTEC E. The one is better than non-VTEC and the other one is worse than non-VTEC. If anyone's interested in, you know, learning about VTEC E stuff, comment that down below. I doubt anyone is. But like I said, in this video we are going to be restoring this valve cover. Okay, here we go, it's fully assembled. Now inside you get a tray. That is just to keep the parts you're working on out of the degreaser or diesel or whatever you have in here. You also get this small tray which is, you know, lifted. It has feet and holes, so you can probably wash small parts in there, bolts, nuts, that kind of stuff. This area is big enough for, you know, parts, engine parts, pistons, that kind of stuff. I'm going to put the valve cover in here just so you guys can see for a bit of scale, but as you can see, something like a valve cover fits in there quite nicely. So a cylinder head will fit in here. A 4-cylinder block maybe, you know, I'll probably put a 4-cylinder block in here. I'll probably remove this tray and just put it straight in all the way. But yeah, I think for 4 cylinders this is probably perfect. Now for the V8 guys, you probably want to go with a bigger one because I doubt the V8 block will fit in here. The cylinder heads might, so you know, will still be kind of helpful. Now this thing has to be filled up. It says 90 liters online, so I assume it takes 90 liters of detergent, degreaser, diesel. I have degreaser over here, 25 liters. So what I'm going to do is, put it in here. But first, you probably want to put this thing wherever you're going to put it, because it's going to be very heavy once you fill it up. So I'm not going to leave it here. I'm probably going to put it, next to my other workbench. Now over here you have a button on the outside, so you plug it in, and then here you have a switch that then sucks your cleaning agent in here, and it will put it out over here. It did come with this brush, and it has a hole at the back. So I assume you can put a piece of pipe, probably fish tank pipe, from here to here, and then the detergent will come out of your brush directly. So while you're working with it, the detergent will come out of the brush. I'm not so sure if I'm keen on that. I think just having it run onto the part constantly is good enough. And the good thing is you don't have to keep on using and buying detergent, because it will stay in here and just keep on recycling the same stuff. There is a bit of a filter here just to filter out bigger particles, but at some point you'll probably have to replace it. And then there is a drain here, so you can go to the bottom and pull that drain out, and it will drain all the whatever solvent you have in here. Overall, I'm quite happy with this. I will list this thing in the description if anyone wants to pick one up. Okay, so that was quite rough. Now I put 25 liters in here, and as you can see, it's only halfway up here. But if I turn it on, it does work. So, if I switch it on, it does actually pump. So what this means is we don't have to dilute it. I'll be able to use it just like this. I may actually dilute it just a little bit to get the level a bit higher, but it looks like it will work just fine. And of course this thing you can bend, and then it stays anywhere you want it to. So that's quite handy. Anyway, let's get the valve cover in here and see how it goes. Okay, and there we go, it's all cleaned up. Almost looks like it just came out the factory. Now we are going to remove this mounting bracket and this one. We're going to remove all the rough cast marks, and then on the inside, look how good that came out. Inside looks brand new, there's no residue of any oil anymore. Now you could have done this faster. I spent about 15 minutes in here. Could have done it faster. I was actually enjoying it a bit. So, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I do enjoy cleaning stuff, so it was quite an enjoyable process for me to clean this up. But yeah, this thing definitely makes it a lot quicker to clean stuff. And as you guys can see, it's almost the exact same height as my workbench. So what I'm thinking to do is just to get a thin piece of wood. That way it's dual purpose, so it's also going to be a workbench. But I don't know if you guys can see this. Here's the roughest part of it. It's normally the front here, and that's what we are going to take off. And then back here we have this line, so I'm also going to knock down this line completely. Okay, I'm filming on my phone just because I know it can focus a bit closer. So what I'm doing now is I'm knocking off all the rough edges. I'm using this small file. It kind of goes really quickly because the stuff is not very strong. This is cast aluminium, so it's quite soft. Now if you look at the surface over here, kind of doesn't look like much, but compared to the one next to it, look at all these rough edges you have over here. And then compare it with a section like this and like this. If you paint over these rough edges, so over these rough edges over here, you're going to exacerbate it, especially if you're painting it white, which I intend to do, gloss white. If you're doing wrinkle black, you're probably not going to notice it that much just because of the texture. But over here on the old valve cover, I did miss a few of them, and you can clearly see them now. So if you look right on this edge here, you can see there's a few of those imperfections that I missed before I painted the valve cover. So that's why I'm going around and just cleaning off all of the edges. Over here we have all these very rough cast marks, and you know, the only way to get this off will be either with a grind and a flap disc or a big file. So over here I used a big file, so what I'll just do is keep going until this whole area is flat and smooth. And we're almost done. I used a steel brush just to brush up some of the areas I'm not going to hit with the small file. I am still going to go over the areas with the small file just to make sure nothing pokes out at me. We are going to have to do some filler over here, so I do have some spot putty. I'm going to put spot putty in there. Whether that's the right thing to use, I'm not sure, because this is a kind of like a, on the engine part, gets quite hot, so not sure how, automotive spot putty is going to hold up. But like I said, this is a test valve cover, and we're going to test whether it works. If it doesn't work, we're probably going to have to try something else, or just not cut off these brackets in the future. This one at the back has, quite a big hole. You can cut the whole thing off here, but then you would have to, work this whole area at the back to get it to be perfect. And, that sounds like a bit too much work for me. And of course, this area at the back, you're not going to see it. I mean, you have your breather attachment or filter going on here, so you're not going to see that area. This is basically, what you're going to see. Now, if you guys can check the front here, I did clean up the whole front. I am going over it with the file now just to make sure we don't have any, uneven parts like here. I still need to do a bit more. And, on this corner is not perfect. You guys can see the surface is not perfectly flat. But if you look at the front here, this surface is very flat. So, that part's coming along nicely. At the back, I'm not sure if I'm going to take this line off here. I did take it off on the top and on this side, but we do still have a little bit more to go down here. It's going to be a bit tricky because it's in a curve, and then we have to clean up this here. If you look at this side, you'll see I did clean up all around here where the cam cover goes. So overall, it should give us a really nice result. The surfaces are quite smooth. I'm quite happy with how it came out. I'm going to continue a bit with the steel brush, inside these letters, just around them. I'm not going to hit the letters with sanding or anything like that, because I feel like if you wear down the edges of the lettering, it takes away from the sharpness of the cover. I see a lot of guys, just taking a DA over this and sanding the whole thing, but you end up wearing down the sharp corners of this. And in my opinion, especially on the B series covers, it looks really bad if you actually take away the sharpness of the lettering. Okay, so the valve cover is back in the parts washer. What I'm doing now is I'm running it into this hole over here. That is the breather hole, and what is happening is it's coming out the breather tube on the outside. So effectively I'm rinsing the underside of the baffle this way. Okay, so I hosed off the inside of the valve cover and it came out really nice. I'm busy cleaning off these rivets. So this is to hold the baffle plate in place. Just using a screwdriver to scrape off all the old glue that used to be there. Most of them kind of look like this, not as bad as this. This is probably the worst one, but you can see there's a lot of like sealant kind of thing they used to glue this baffle in. Okay, so this is where we are at. I did go over the whole valve cover with 320, all the edges that's prone to having imperfections. I spent quite a bit of time on the front here to try and get that perfect, because that's actually the roughest part of the whole cover. There's still a few scratches like there. That's quite deep. I would have to spend quite a bit of time to try and fix that. Small bit of scratches here on the corner, but I mean the rest of it looks quite nice. Nothing that isn't level anymore. And like I said, I went over all the edges with sandpaper as well. I did try and sharpen up the letters with the file, so just going around the letters and trying to sharpen them up as much as possible. But now we have to turn our focus to the small hole here. So as you guys remember, we cut the bracket off here, and now there's a small hole. Same with the one at the back, there is a hole here. So I'm going to use this black spot putty and just put a small bit on here and a small bit on there, and then while that dries we are going to get a Dremel and try and remove this little nip that's still here. So there used to be a line here that I removed. Not sure if this stuff's going to work, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, so I left the cover overnight and then put it in the sun a bit, so this area should be dry where we put the spot putty. The same at the back. I did sand it a bit and I did try to get the scratches filled in as well. I'm hoping it will come out good. It's not exactly perfect. I did have to create a tiny few, low spots here when I used the grinder to cut off this mount, but I'm hoping the texture of the valve cover will, hide the imperfections if there is any. Not too worried about this one because, like I said, this one is not really in your face. This one is. Now I taped it off. I just taped on the inside. Your spark plug tubes go over here so you don't see this anyway, and I normally put a coin here just to block it off, but you end up with a hard paint edge. So in this case I just put the tape on the inside and I'm going to get paint all over this mounting area here. Now normally I also put a bit of tape in here, but I'm not actually using these holes, so I don't really care if paint goes in there. In fact, it might even look a bit better if paint goes in there, because like I said, I don't use them. If you do use them, I do recommend that you tape them off. Now I showed you guys how I did this, quite easy, took about 5 minutes. So the masking job on this is decent and it only took a few minutes. Now some of you may know we did get this turbo from MaxPeedingRods, and this is the one that's going on our new build. So we are busy building a Vitara forged no notch setup. The B series build is on hold for now because this engine needs a bit of engineering. This D series forged build is ready to go. So this is going to be the turbo we're running on that, and possibly the same valve cover. So I was thinking, let's just, while we're painting, color match the housing as well. Now this is the one with the billet compressor wheel. I already loosened it. So what we're going to do is actually paint this housing as well, and color match it to the car and the valve cover. Now it also has the raised logo like the valve cover, and we are going to clean it up afterwards. So we'll be able to do the same thing here, just clean up the logo on this one and they will match nicely. Now yes, we are going to use a clear cam cover, so you will be able to see this area, so you are going to paint in here as well. I'll link this in the description. This is just the dress up bolts. I'll link this as well. We do have a blue set that we're going to use, and of course the adjustable cam gear, that's also the same color blue. So all that kind of stuff will make the setup look really nice once we are ready to actually install everything on the new engine. Now I'm going to put this in the parts washer just to make sure there's no oil on it, and then if it has any rough cast marks, we'll just use a file to file it smooth like we did with the valve cover. And here we go, we are ready to paint. I did try and clean up some of the cast marks on this turbo, but there wasn't much to clean up. This is actually a really neat cast. Everything is now taped up and ready to be painted. Okay, first light coat is done. Doesn't look too bad. We'll see once we add more coats. There's a few spots where it looks like the paint isn't very happy, but because of the texture of the cover, we should actually be able to work around it without being able to notice it afterwards. Turbo is grabbing onto the paint really nicely. Okay, so this is where we are after one 250ml can and 3 coats. The can is just about done. There's a tiny bit in it, but it's just about finished. And if you were just doing a valve cover, 1 can should be fine, unless you run into issues like I did. We have a fish eye over there, and we had 2 or 3 fish eyes over here that I tried to just put a lot of paint on it to cover them up. And as you guys can see, we have a small run here now. So what I'm going to do is add a just get another can, do 2 or 3 more coats on here, so we can try and cover that fish eye, and then build up a bit of thickness here, because I'm going to have to sand back that small run we have over there. Other than that, everything came out nice. The turbo housing came out nice. We are a little bit short on paint on the edges, so this would need, another coat or two. Don't really know if you guys can see it, but the edges doesn't have enough paint on them yet. The face of it does. Face looks really nice. It does have a bit of a texture, so it does take a bit more paint, but overall didn't put up a fight at all, where the valve cover is putting up a slight bit of a fight. Okay, we have 5 coats in. I used 2 of these small 250ml cans, and it's looking very good. Now we do have 2 dust nibs. There's one over here somewhere and one in the front. We have a small run here, and that's about it. So I'm going to use this tiny block with 1200 to get rid of the dust nibs and the small run, and then we're going to use this block with 180 grit to sand down the letters. We're also going to do that on the turbo housing. It's the next day now. We still have to do clear coat. Compressor housing came out really nicely. Even the lettering came out really nice. Very happy with this. Valve cover on the other hand, we have a small dust nip over here that left a black speck, so we're going to have to fix that. And when I pull off the tape of the oil filler here, we ripped off some of the paint as well. Luckily the oil fill cap does cover this area, but I'm still going to fix it anyway. Okay, here we go, we're all done. Been sitting for a few hours now, so it is completely, dry to the touch. I did 3 coats of clear on both the valve cover and the turbo housing. Turbo housing has a bit more texture to it, so not as much shine as the valve cover, but valve cover also has a little bit of texture on it. And here where we did that repair, try and show you guys, you can hardly see it. Unless you have a light source that you can reflect on that exact spot, you won't be able to notice that at all. If you look at it like this, suddenly you can't see it anymore at all. So yeah, very happy with this. Even where we fixed the the little dust nib, can't really see it. There's a small bump just because there's slightly more paint in that area, but again, can't really see it at all. Our little mistake we made here, mostly fixed, but like I said, luckily we will have the oil fill cap on there that does cover that area completely. So overall, very happy with it. Came out, I would give it about a 90%, 95%. Turbo housing, definitely 90%. There was a pen marker spot here, which obviously the pen marker dissolved into the new paint, so there's a small red dot here. Nothing that I'm going to be worried about too much, because my turbo is mounted in this orientation anyway, so you won't be able to see it. But overall, I think it came out really good. Considering it was only 2 cans of paint and 1 can of clear for a result like this, I think it really is worth it. Also, it was a bit more work than I expected, because I had to go back and fix a few things and then sand it before I could do the clear. But the results does speak for itself. Thanks again to MaxPeedingRods for sending out the turbo. There's a link in the description as well as a coupon code that'll get you guys a discount in case you're looking to pick something up for yourself. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.